In the past 5 years, you generated over $100 million in info and coaching sales using Instagram content alone. And the number one misconception people have when they talk to me about it is that they think that content is like magic pill where you post content, money comes out through the door flying, which is super, super wrong. And there's a reason why there's a bunch of influencers with millions of followers that cannot make more than $10,000. And there's influencers with, 10,000, 20,000 followers making millions of dollars every single month. And the difference is the monetization angle, right? Just like with traditional paid ads, how you turn attention into sales calls, into paying customers, really differentiates how lucrative or unlucrative a traffic funnel is. And so in today's video, what I'm going to go through is I'm going to go through the most common and most spoken about funnels there is in the info coaching space. And I'm going to break down how they stack up from S all the way down to D in terms of monetization on Instagram. Okay, this is going to be very interesting because you're going to contradict a lot of what the paid ads people are saying because organic traffic is just different greatly. So with that being said, we'll get started with low ticket ascension funnels. Now, right now, as at the time of recording this, which is September 2025, a lot of people are really buzzing about the low ticket funnel, right? The premise of it, if you're not familiar, is that basically you take traffic, right? You funnel them into what's called like an LTO, so it's like a low ticket offer. It's like super cheap little offer. And then from there, obviously in the back end, you ascend them into like high ticket, right? And the basic thing is that like from the traffic to the low ticket offer, you basically like break even here, and then you make your profits really on the back end, right? Which is like really profitable. Now, but if you know how to run ads, it's really cool. On organic, this doesn't really work at all. It's one of my least favorite funnels. We've tried it once or twice for a super simple reason, which is unit economics. Unit economics, it is pretty much like if you go and get, 2,000, if you get 2,000 inbound DMs that want to blurb from you, and you send 2,000 links to your low ticket offers, a fraction of those are going to go and click on it, then a fraction of those are going to buy, and then a fraction of those are going to ascend. The two problems with it is this. When you run through, paid ads conversions on the low ticket funnel, you apply those to like, organic traffic, the economics just don't make sense. If I have like, basically the math is just really like unprofitable. And second of all, because organic traffic isn't just on command scalable, right? It's really one of those things where I personally believe it's just not going to make you as much money as it could. Because the only way I've ever seen this scene work remotely is if you have like multiple million views bangers, you sell a template at the end, you already pitch, and then from there you manage to upsell. But again, the very niche audience and millions of views, such as a whole is pretty damn unlucrative, which is why to me, and again, I like this funnel for paid ads, but to me, it's just gonna get like a C tier at this point. Okay, now. Next, we're going to have the good old webinar. And I refer to this as like you pitch a call, right? Super simple. You promote a webinar. From there, you basically go and run through your webinar. And then on the back end of it, you basically like pitch a call. And when it comes to webinars as a whole, I absolutely love them, especially the pitch a call model. Now, there's two things to be said that I think are super important to consider. Number one, the pitch a webinar in of itself, if you're doing it as a amplification strategy, right, or almost like a cleanup, and you're doing it like once a month, once every 6 to 8 weeks, I would 100% put it as an S tier. Honestly, whenever we have a client that has a good webinar and like we do it like in moderate timing, it's an absolute like S tier. It's awesome, especially because it's super cheap. Like, you have obviously no sign-up costs unless you run retargeting ads, and even retargeting ads, you get sign up for like $8 to $10, which is on any decent offer is decent. You have higher show-up rates, and the stick rate is pretty high too. And so, as a whole, because obviously organic traffic, high trust, those are so amazing. Like we just had a client that on a webinar with like 2,000 sign-up has cleaned up like 450K in organic sales, which is like, in my eyes, pretty phenomenal. However, if you're someone that relies on it, where, for example, like you run it in a play of like, so let's say on your traffic, right? Let's say you run carousels, and you run reels. And like the reels, the carousel thing go, for example, to DMs, okay? And then the reels, they go straight to like the webinar, right? If that's your strategy, you had every single week, so you do like a webinar every single week, I would change my attribution. I would put it into like 8 year. The sole reason being is like with an organic audience, if they see something too often, or like they see a same like outside the platform ploy too often, they kind of lose their interest in it, to be honest with you. And like it's just one of those things that is just not as scalable and as repeatable, because over time it kind of creates this like inverse effect of like here we go, put it this way, like over time it creates like not the scalable like exponential, but like the reverse factor. You know, we always see the first webinar that was by far the best, and then like gradually it starts being worse and worse, where like from an economics perspective, like it doesn't really make sense anymore. And so therefore, like I kind of like to do webinars, but I love to keep them at like, personally, I really like to do them at like 6 to 8 weeks. That's when they really work best. Okay. So next up, we got the good old VSL funnel. Now, VSL funnel traditionally, right, you funnel all the traffic to it. And like, there's been a few people that have done this, but like call me a VSL hater, but like I think VSLs on Instagram is one of the dumbest strategies you can do. Here's why. What people used to do is do like traffic, right? So they used to do like IG shout outs, then they would do like organic content, and they would do like IG stories. Okay, and then they would also do like link in bio. So all the traffic would go to like, from those places, they would literally like direct to the VSL. So essentially, like the point behind it was like they would not leverage a DM setter. They would literally not do anything. Everything that was like, if you messaged them, like if you sent them like, even if you sent them a DM, right? You message like, oh, hey, Jeremy, I'm really struggling with X, Y, and Z. What should I do? They'd be like, oh, thanks for reaching out. You should watch this video and then let me know if you have any questions. And then direct everything to a VSL. Now, it can work and it can be really efficient, because obviously you don't have any overheads and like it's whatever. That's cool. But here's the caveat. Your VSL needs to be freaking top tier. Like it needs to be unbelievable. And we've only ever had one client that had like a VSL that was that good. Alternatively, if your VSL isn't that good, you're going to have a lot of leakage, or you have to go make claims or like FTC violations, which we don't recommend and support, or you just have to be like very edgy like sales strategies. And so for that very reason, to me, like a VSL funnel, it kind of goes into that C tier bucket. It's just not as like lucrative in my eyes, and not something that I believe is very cool, you know? Next thing, we have the school funnel. Now, school funnel, again, most of you will probably be just like me, be like, what the fuck is a school funnel? Very valid question. And so there's this one guy, Nick Sarayev, he basically is like he has this, let me pull this up for you guys actually. So basically like what this guy has is, he has basically like this school community, and all he does is he literally like links his school group. So if you message him a DM, he'll follow you somewhere, and like it all comes down to like this school community, right? So essentially, if you were to go to ranking, it's literally like all the traffic goes straight to like school LP, you know, the landing page of school, and from there to like checkout. Now, again, it's simple because you literally have no like real like team that you need to pay. It's like, it's super cheap, and like it seems efficient, but like just a drop off rate from like clicking in school, having to leave the platform and stuff is unlucrative. Plus, what I've personally seen is like if you send directly to a school landing page where there's a high ticket price, it's pretty shit. For low ticket stuff, which I like to do as a downsell in my favorite monetization funnel, it's cool, but outside of that, it's a D tier. I just haven't really seen anyone scale like that, to be honest with you. And it's just, I think it's unnecessary. There's way better ways. Now, the next one is one of my favorites, okay? The challenge funnel. Okay, I'm sure if you're in the info coaching space, you've either seen someone do it or you've seen Jeremy Haynes talk about it. We've been doing challenges in our agency or like with our clients for the better part of like 2 years at this point. And the way I kind of perceive them is very different, right? Challenge funnel is like a, hey, this is a constant I'm doing. It's probably like a B tier because it's just like, takes so much effort, like not worth the squeeze. But the way we kind of treat this, and I made a separate video about it, is basically we treat it as like a cleanup. So do you know when like in a supermarket, you're like, yep, clean up on aisle 4, please. That's what we do with the challenge funnel, like every single quarter. So basically like what we have is like, we have all our traffic, right? And you know, they go into like wherever they go, and then either they purchase or they don't, right? And so what we do is like, then obviously on a monthly basis, we do a webinar to clean those people up. And then every 3 months, we have this massive pool of people that have not committed. And then for those people, as well as the organic traffic, we basically go and create a challenge. And then this big challenge is like 3 days long. It's like super, like we do it super tactically oriented. So it's not as much like moo moo wah wah, like all you selling the vehicle, but really like tactically, like how to achieve like a first outcome. And then from there, we really go hard on like the, hey, here's how you do it type stuff. And so challenge funnels, honestly, like when you do it and like that, they're freaking amazing. But I just wouldn't rely onto them or do them too often. So to me, I would give it an A funnel just because it's not like repeatedly scalable. But as a whole, in terms of like doing this as a funnel, really, really recommend it. Like, especially like, again, with those, I like to interject them where like you do this on a monthly basis and you do this on a quarterly basis. Freaking amazing. Really, really enjoy that. Next up, we have the lead magnet funnel. Again, lead magnet funnel, I don't need to really explain it, but it's basically like you create, like, let's say you see reels, right? They go into the DMs. From there, you send them to like an opt-in. So it's basically like an opt-in page of like, oh, like you pretty much go and like give your email and then I'll give you this thingy. And then from there, you get hit with like the email stuff. I'm honestly like, I know some people are in love with this type of stuff. I personally give this thing a D. It's just so like, one, the sale is so delayed and you're just waiting on someone to be like, oh, let me open my emails. Oh my God. You literally rely on someone who's an idiot that you're trying to sell, not being an idiot most. Like you should do something intelligent. Like if you're selling B2C, you're selling to poor people, like you're literally going to expect them to open their emails, which they don't do. Like, I don't know, my emails, I've never bought anything off an email opt-in. I think it's one of the stupidest funnels you could run, to be quite frank with you, especially on organic traffic, right? Next, what I want to go and do is I'll do the webinar pitch to sale. So essentially like what some people in the webinar side do, right, which I think is fairly interesting, is they go and pitch the sale directly. So it's like no sales call, they go directly to checkout. To me, it really depends on like your audience and like your offer based on what you do that. So I'll say it this way. If you have an offer, like for example, there's just one person called Em on the Brain sells a course or like coaching offer for like $3,997 or $2,997, one of the above, and like clears very good profit, like very good like percentages of sales coming off of there, which like makes so much more sense. And I like the immediate like monetization effect. Like personally, like a big fan of that. But vice versa, the issue with that is that if you're not very good at pitching, it can really ruin your sort of sale. And if you're selling a product that's really high ticket, like 5K, 8K, 10K plus, it'll probably not work as well. Additionally, like I say with that, it can't be your primary strategy, right? So for that reason, I'm giving this one here to pitch to sale like a B tier. However, I will go and say, there's one particular strategy that I really freaking love. So it could be A tier as well, but I'm going to give it B tier for now. So there's this thing called like an ascension. So basically you sell like a 2K offer and then you on the onboarding call, pitch them into an ascension, right? If, let's say, hypothetically, you run all your traffics. So you run all your traffic into the DMs, right? Which we'll get to. This is probably one of my favorite files. So you push them into the DMs and from there you try to get them on a call. But if they don't qualify, if they don't meet your check marks inside of the DMs, okay, then you send them to like this, I call it a DS, like a downsell. So you send them to a downsell landing page, which is like sign up for a webinar. They watch the webinar where you drop the price, and that's that. Same thing here. If they, based on the type form, right, if they get disqualified, you just reroute them onto this. So essentially what you're doing is you basically you maximize your traffic. And it's like, it becomes like a sell mechanism where essentially like if your traffic doesn't qualify or they drop out somewhere, boom, we immediately slap them onto here, which then obviously generates sales. We had a client do this and it was one of the funniest experiences to test. Pretty much. This guy had to try to apply 5 times for that particular client's offer. And he was declined all the fucking time. So eventually when he put that in, that per person applied again, was downsold, watched the VSL or like the webinar, bought it, and then upsold later on. Now the last thing I'll say is like the webinar pitch to sale, it either becomes your main strategy and like you just really like prime your audience for an entire month and run one big webinar and you switch the topics, or use like as a secondary strategy. Otherwise it just becomes a bit like boring. Hence I put it as a B tier. Now the last two I will go is like DM selling and DM to sales call, okay? So really what most people don't really speak about, everyone also have like automated ManyChat sequences and all of that nonsense, which like I personally hate, is the dumbest thing ever. What people do, the intelligent people that make a lot of money and then you probably watch, they have all their traffic, right? So all their traffic funneled into the DMs. Okay, now I'll quickly tell you why. The DMs are the best place to sell because that's where the audience feels vulnerable, right? You and I, we understand in the DMs, there's a setter in there, they basically ramsacks them. But the average person who just saw you, who really likes you, looks up to you, doesn't think that. So when they message you, you say, oh, I'll get back to you. They think, okay, this is XYZ talking to me. And so they get this like really like personalized like element of things, which like they really enjoy. They're like, oh, this person got back to me, super cool, blah, blah, blah. And as a result of it, there's like higher, their trust goes up infinitely, right? Like sort of like the response rate goes up initially, and like the honesty as well is up tremendously, which means it's easier to book, you get higher quality bookings, and the craziest part about it is like show up and close rate are significantly higher. The last thing I'll say is the consumption rate is like triple the amount. So consumption rate, I say when somebody books a call and you basically just follow them up into essentially like, oh, watch these videos before. The consumption rate and like the likelihood of them watching it is like 3 times higher than off of paid ads, which is why it's my favorite funnel. Plus, here's the thing, right? What you can do is like no show, you can circle back with them. Let's say full locked, right? If they didn't buy, they need to more time. You can nurture them. You have so much more leverage and like impact of what you can do. For us, in this probably separate video, we have an entire process of like how we leverage DM setters very strategically. So the sales call, the sales rep goes from like being the main point of contact and closer to like almost like secondary. Like, yeah, calls are still super important, but like I just learned there's so many back closers out there. I rather train up the setters to become so good at like handling objections and whatnot in the DMs, using the personalized authority frame that therefore they just become much more efficient, right? And so to me, that's why like honestly like DM to sales call is by far like an S tier funnel, my favorite funnel by a landmile. The last thing I've left is DM selling. Now, I'll give you this context. Back in 2020, when this first all started, we used to like, people not really used to do phone calls. So we used to like sell through DMs. We'd send through like a sales page, like a Google Doc, one pager, and then here's a price. Let me know if you're in, boom, send a receipt. Personally, I put it as a B tier for simple reasons. One, people don't really buy anything. Like maybe if you have a really tight brand, you can sell something upwards of 4K, but anything above 1.5, 2K is going to be super hard to sell. But I know there's some people that really populate is all you can sell through a DM stuff. You can do it. I think it's just a lot harder. And the economics from like what percentage of people viewing it buy is just massively off. And that way you don't squeeze as much out of the traffic as you could. And guess what? If you know anything about what we do, we love squeezing the juice out of every single lemon. So here you have it. If you want to learn how to monetize your Instagram, you've got to figure out the DM to sales call funnel. That is like, you got to figure that one out. That is by far the best ones. All of our clients that we've gotten to like, $1 million, multiple 7 figures a month, clients doing 300, 500K per month, they all use this funnel. What I will say is like the evolution to that is what I call sales funnel stacking. So for example, you'd end up taking like a sales call, right? And then you'd use like, personally, that's what we kind of do, use like a webinar and like a challenge funnel to really supplement. So like now you essentially have this entire like stack of people or like stack of funnels that kind of combine, right? So now this is kind of like, okay, this creates like a lot of the traffic. We funnel it into here, and the people who don't convert from here, they run into this. So it becomes like this triple-headed dragon that's trying to convert people and really maximize its conversion rate, which is probably one of my favorite things to do. Now, with that being said, if you got any value out of it, which I hope you did, again, this funnel, like I will literally go and say, this funnel right here has done over $80 million in sales alone. These two probably make up the remaining 20, right? And so I just want to say like, those are really like what you should be focusing on, okay? So if you've gotten any value out of this, please like the video and subscribe so the good old YouTube algorithm will be some more graceful to me. And then with that being said, I will see you in the next video.